I'm working with the 1981 Mercruiser setup. I noticed my power trim tilt pump. I started noticing a little bit of leaking out of one of my rams, one of the lines going on my rams, and started noticing the chocolate milk everybody talks about. So I didn't see any videos out there on how to actually drain the setup and flush it all out, and of course replace that line where I was getting the water intrusion. So I'm just going to show you real quick how you need to take this pump apart and which pump I have. So here's my setup here. This is a 70 series pump. I'll get you the serial number later on in the video here, but basically to take it out, I'm sitting where the motor is. I got my motor out, so you'll have to do this kind of leaning to one side of the motor, so I've got a little bit better access to it. But you've got 4 screws on the side. This is all mounted to this transom here. You got basically your red wire or your positive hooks to that, and your ground hooks to this, or your neutral. And that's it as far as going to the boat. The rest of this is all contained. You got your drain or fill screw here. That's not a drain screw, it's a fill. And then you've got a vent screw right behind it. But that's the unit. And then you've got this plug-in. You got to plug in this thing here. This will plug right into there. So to fill this pump, you could fill it with the plate or the actual. This is the actual motor up here, and the pump is actually in this lid down here. While it's upside down, you could actually fill it all the way up, I guess, and put this on, but I wanted to make sure I got the right fluid level height on it. So you could do it, I guess, either way you want to do it. You're going to have to basically run fluid through the lines and bleed the air out anyway, so you're going to have to fill it with it in place anyway. So my setup is going to be using one of these things. And I'm going to come over here. It's kind of a little bit, I'm going to loosen some things, but you can come out from the top and just plug it into that hole like that. And then just start pushing it in. And then you'll just repeat that step. I use, a bottle this size here, this quart bottle. I used almost all that, maybe about to the bottom of the label there. So almost a full quart, maybe let's say 850 mLs of this to fill that thing, and then you'll have to bleed it out. So other people online are saying to use, get about 3 of these. And then as you bleed your lines out and fill up your rams and keep running it up and down, eventually you'll get all your air out and you get everything recirculated through. But my pump states on it, you either use 10W30 or 1040. So that's what I'm using with this. So this is the pump that I'm working on. There's a number here. I've got it upside down here. I've already covered it back up because I took all this stuff off and I went ahead and cleaned off my contacts and everything. You can't see it because it's covered up now, but everybody's been asking about the different kinds of fluids that go in it. And this sticker says 10W30 or 10W40. So back in the late 70s or whatever, that's what they used. I guess, and even further back, they used oil. So I'm just going to go back in it with what it came with. So 10W30, 10W40. Once you get the pump out, this is the bottom of it. You'll take out all these screws along here. I'm going to try to reuse my gasket here. This little thin gasket that goes in the seal here. One thing I could advise you on being real careful about losing is this guy here. This is the connection point. It goes on there like that, and then it connects to, if you flip it over, it connects to this part on the actual pump. When I opened this up and had it upside down, this thing was completely full. Obviously, it was full. I wasn't leaking down that bad, but it was full of the chocolate milk looking stuff, the tan, and I didn't see it in there. So when I dumped it all out, this went into the garbage with it. And as I got it all cleaned up, and I went at it inside here. I hope it wasn't a bad idea, but I went at it with some carb cleaner, got it upside down, and just got everything out and cleaned it completely out. When I got my pump back together, I realized it wasn't working right because I didn't have this thing in here. That's why it's all oily in there now. Anyway, just be real careful you don't lose this. That's the connection point. Again, it goes here, and that connects to, when you get this position upside down, it'll connect onto here, and that's what gives you the joining. It's got like a coupler, I guess. Anyway, once you get it cleaned out, you put your gasket into here. I'm going to go ahead and go on with some of this silicone, just a little, just so I can stick it back down to make sure it's going to get a good contact point. And I'm just going to put just a little fingering down there and just tighten it back down, just to get a good tight seal on it. let's see, I guess that's basically about it. So that's how you'll have to basically break it apart. There is no drain on this. I was hoping there would be, but there's not. Plus, I really want to get in here and clean all that out anyway. So there's no drain. The filling point is okay. So I've got some help here with somebody activating the buttons up front in order to raise and lower. You want to bleed these lines all the way out here. So I believe these are the up lines. So go ahead and do the hang on. Do the up lines. You see it's kind of pumping it out. And that's looking pretty clear. Okay, stop. That looks pretty good. I've already done, this is the second round I've done. You can see what I've gotten out. It's kind of milky or mustardy looking there. So the up lines are good. Now we're going to go ahead and do, these long tubes are going to be the down lines. So I'll tell you one there. Go ahead and do the down lines all the way down. Go ahead. Keep going. Just keep going until I tell you to stop. So we're getting a lot of milk out of that. Just keep going. Keep on going. Keep going. Stop. Okay, looks like I ran a little dry, so I'll have to run that through again. Anyway, but you just keep doing that, repeating it. You repeat that process, you get all the white out. It should be nice and clear like those upper ones were until you get it clear. That's why it takes 3 or 4 quarts to get it all the way flushed out. Okay, so basically I've got these all bled out, all these out. So next thing you want to do is, even if you're replacing your rams, you have to do this. I went ahead and took mine, and you can pull on it. This is your line that this one goes in, and here's your other line here. And they look like they're the same, so they're interchangeable. But your ram should want to suck itself back in. That's the way I'm determining that's the ram's good and not leaking. What you also, when you're doing this, be real careful or be mindful. I got a lot of this muddy stuff out. Make sure if you do whichever one you're doing first, I left one line on there. Well, actually I had them both off. Put your finger over. Just make sure when you pull it back, have these things covered up, because they'll still spray all over you, as I found the other day. That got me in the face. But as you're letting it come back in, it's going to want to force everything out of here. So by doing this back and forth, there's maybe a towel over it, you're going to wring out almost all the fluid that's in it. And then basically you'll hook up one end, and you'll start, you run the fluid in, and then you do the other end, and then eventually you get all the lines on there, and you run them up and down until you've got the fluids filled back up in there. So that's how you'll need to do your rams. And I'm sure there's some videos out there that show ram fluid filling. Good luck. One final note, as you're bleeding the air out of your system, make sure you leave. I left the fill screw out of mine. There's a fill screw, and I think the screw behind is a vent screw, but I left the fill screw out of mine as I was bleeding the air, just to make sure the air would burp on out of the system. But after you feel like you've gotten all the air out of your system, make sure your rams are completely compressed, and then top it off the last time. If you fill it with the rams extended or slightly extended and you don't have them all the way down, you're going to overfill the system. Because for the ones that don't know, like myself, when the reservoir is full, the rams are down. As you extend them, all that fluid leaves the reservoir, or most of it, and then it pushes the rams out. So if you fill it with the rams are out, you're going to have more than enough fluid coming back. And if you've got everything tightened down and somehow mistakenly had your vent tightened down too tight, you could blow out one of your lines to your rams, and then you're starting all over again. So just make sure your rams are completely compressed, and then top the system off, and then you should be good to go. Good luck.